Be glad your kid's in some trouble in high school. Not too much. You shouldn't, but if your kids aren't in any trouble in high school, they're gonna be dull. And all
As
the future leaders of the arts always had trouble in high school.
one, I'm so honored to speak with you. I've been a longtime fan since my mom showed me Serial Mom growing up. It was,
My mom said that was my best movie too, though. She said my own mom said that. Yeah.
well, I mean, I just rewatched it for Mother's Day, and it's a timeless film. But I really love what I love about Crybaby is the juvenile delinquents. You going back to your childhood and talking
Yeah.
about this. Can you speak about juvenile delinquents of your time and what beckoned you to make this love letter to
Well,
them?
where I lived was a upper middle class white suburban Baltimore. There was no juvenile delinquents except for one. And his family lived across the street, and I won't name them, but I always thought he was really sexy, but I was 8. I didn't realize that, but I was attracted to him. And the neighbors all hated my parents. Oh God, the family, they were like kind of lower middle class white people, but they were great. And he had a car that looked exactly like Crybaby's in it. His
Oh
car,
my
he had a
goodness.
hot rod looked exactly like that. He looked like Crybaby. And I made friends with his brother, but I don't know that I ever even talked to him. I was like a kid, maybe I said hello once or anything, but the whole neighborhood hated him and looked down on him. So I was fascinated by them, and I guess still am.
Oh,
I
my
looked
white
them
boy
up to try to
delinquent.
see where they are today. I can't find them.
Well, my white boy delinquents of my youth were white boy gangsters. So I understood that love of I don't understand why I like you guys, but I do. So I
Yeah,
love that of just being
but I
attracted to
liked
them.
him because the rock and roll was Elvis and
Mhm.
Johnny, all the rockabilly guys I loved, and he looked like him. He was, that's where they came from. That's what
Yeah.
drapes were basically, and he had that look perfectly. I don't have any idea of what happened to him or what he was like. He was probably maybe 20 or 19 or something when this was going on, but he still lived at home. Maybe he was younger than that.
Oh man, I wish he could see all of this and just be like, this man stole my life for this character.
Well, I don't know what his life was. If anything, there was a movie called The Crybaby Killer, but maybe I'd forgot. But Jack Nicholson was in.
Mm.
Crybaby was a song, the first 45 record I ever bought by the Bonnie Sisters, and so that's what gave me the name of it.
Oh, I love that. I mean, this kind of goes into my next question about this time period of your films. We look at Hairspray, Serial Mom, Crybaby. It seems like you're going back and looking at your childhood in many ways. What
It's a
was
little
it about this?
before. I mean, Crybaby was takes place in what 1955 or four. So I was 10,
Mhm.
9.
It
So
just seemed like this was such a reflective period for you, though, as a director, where you were kind of looking back to so much. What about this era was that reflection period for you?
well, the first rebellion you ever see and then participate in is the most exciting ever in your life. The first time you do something culturally against your parents that they don't approve of is what rock and roll revolution, teenage angst, everything is about that. And I always say the kids that graduate from perfect prom queens, football stars in high school, their life goes downhill. That's it. That's their peak. Where
Yeah.
be glad your kid's in some trouble in high school. Not too much. You shouldn't, but if your kids aren't in any trouble in high school, they're gonna be dull. And all
As
the future leaders of the arts always had trouble in high school.
I will say this once, and once only. Stay away from my granddaughter, you common juvenile delinquents.
as a kid who was a troublemaker in high school who has a really fun, artful life now, I kind of agree with that. That's a good
Yeah,
way of
I
putting
think it's
it.
true.
So in this film, you
But I'm
cast
also
Trick.
against homeschooling. I think you have to learn how to be out there and get through it.
Yeah, I have a 6-year-old in Florida public school. I often think homeschooling's the option, but then I'm like, no, now he's a homeschool kid. That's its own sort of weird.
Well, then they don't learn how to negotiate. They don't. I could talk my way out of fights. I made the bullies laugh, and then they didn't beat me up. So you have to figure a way for that to happen. It shouldn't happen, but unfortunately, it does.
No, that makes so much sense. Wow, I never really thought about it like that. You've now kept me even more not homeschooling my kid. Thank you. No, and I look at this film. So you have Traci Lords and Patricia Hearst, these very infamous women of the time. Can you speak to bringing them onto Crybaby, both in their first, I think, major film roles, and then embracing them fully as well?
Well, first of all, with Traci Lords, nothing good happens to you if you're a porn star when you're underage. So I knew that she was unfortunately great at it, but she was also so short a time in Traci Lord's life did that happen. When bad people got her in it, she takes responsibility for it. She's not, but she wanted to go further, and we wanted to. We always liked notoriety. I like a woman with a past. But when we turn it around and use that, everything that people are using against you, to embrace it, make fun of it, and then go further. And she did that. She got out of that business. She escaped porn, really. She was underage. And she did lots of auditions for me. We wouldn't have picked her if she couldn't have done it. And she joined us with great happiness. It was like rehab in a way to join us. And Patricia Hearst, who wants to be a famous kidnap victim? You know, people used to ask me for my autograph, and I'd say, for what? So by being in a movie was a giant fuck you to the fame she never wanted in the first place. And everything she did was right. That's why she's alive. And she doesn't think it's funny. She doesn't look back. It's like another time. It's not her. It's just over, you know, it's just completely over. But then it was a good way to begin to make it over. And her own family offered her money not to do it, as if she needed money. But and they said, why would you want to bring attention to yourself? She said, because I want to bring attention to myself for something other than being kidnapped. So she made the right decision to do it. It worked for Traci Lords. It worked for Johnny Depp, too. He didn't want to be Justin Bieber, which he kind of was at the time.
Yeah.
All three of those people did it. Troy Donahue, he was hated looking good. He was so happy to look ugly in a movie. So we did it for a lot of people. It's kind of rehab of their image to come work with me, because I kind of like somebody with a past. If you go to jail, I'm the first person to call you if I'm your friend. If you get a bad review, I'll call you that morning.
Is there somebody nowadays you would love to rehab their image? Someone who has an infamously to them that you're like, you know, you would be the new Traci Lords, the new Patricia Hearst?
Well, I don't know. They'd be the new her, but I'd have to think about that. It's so hard now because everybody gets canceled. So it's a different thing, you know. It's not as exciting. The people that are thrown out of society today is because they use the wrong pronoun, or they, you know, ask someone for a date without 3 lawyers. You know, you have to be so careful about all that, that it's not quite as much fun as taking back. I mean, none of those people would embrace what they were accused of and turn it into a style and win. I don't think. I think that's pretty rare for that to happen in the Me Too world.
No, you have a very good point there. Also, this film has, you know, these great women that you've always cast. You always have amazing women. Ricki Lake. I mean, I love Mink, but the standout for me in this film is Kim McGuire.
Yeah.
Speak to bringing this scene stealer. I mean, there's so much talent in this movie, but Kim McGuire, who I believe was almost an unknown at this time, talk about bringing her on.
I think she might have been 30. I don't know how old she was, but we couldn't say we were looking for an ugly girl, and I wasn't. But what we said, we're looking for a woman with an extreme face who's proud of it, and we couldn't find anybody. People, I must admit, people came in with deformities and stuff. It was like really embarrassing. People came in with claws. I was horrible, and we had to be polite, but that isn't what I meant. We saw her picture in another pile for extras for another movie. Who is this? She didn't look ugly. She looked weird, and we knew Van Smith, who did all my makeup and costumes at the time. We called him the ugly expert. He could have turned Traci Lords ugly. So he got a hold of her, and she had a good canvas. She had a real good starting point. And then he exaggerated every flaw, every kind of thing he could do in her teeth and everything, and made her our kind of beauty in a way. Just like she says in the movie, there's nothing the matter with my face. I got character.
Which is one of, if I could get one of your lines tattooed, you know, other than, you know, I wouldn't suck your balls if there was oxygen in them. One of those as well.
I wouldn't get that one on your, that would be trouble if you're ever going to a foreign country and strip search.
But no, I think that that's such an important quote, and that really speaks to your characters. It speaks to me about writing these characters, especially in Crybaby, about kind of having a love for these people, having a respect for them, even if they aren't the most up and moral citizens. You always seem to still respect your people.
I do. I only make fun of things I love. And that's the key to how long I've lasted, I think. Hatchet, I wanted her to have the body of Jane Mansfield and the face of Frances the Talking Mule. I think that's how I originally pitched it. So when people came up behind her and then she'd turn around and they go, ah, I love that idea. That's Me Too before it even started. Don't act like that to women when you don't know what you're going to get. They might turn around. And she embraced it. She completely embraced it. And she's no longer with us, unfortunately. But if you see in the Crybaby extras, we interview everybody, and it's kind of amazing. I had not seen Darren Burrows since we made the movie, and he was absolutely lovely and said the nicest things. And when I saw Kim McGuire, who was Hatchet, she looked unrecognizable to me.
Wow.
So that's what happens when you haven't seen somebody in 20, 30 years or something. Because it's been, 1990 I made that movie, so that's quite a while ago.
I think you just said something that really touched me there is you only make fun of things you love, which I think is a big part of we see in comedy nowadays. We see in things where people are making fun of things or mocking stuff, but from a place of hate. You gleefully do this and you seem to embrace things, these outside cultures. Is that always something that's been in you? Obviously, you had the Dreamlanders since you were young adult doing this, but have this always been in you to kind of find these weirdos
Sure.
and
What we
put them
did
in?
was make fun of the rules outsiders lived by, not our parents. The rules that we rejected them and the rules we lived by, like Multiple Maniacs, was made in the height of the hippie years, and I made a movie glorifying violence. We always said Divine was thought up to be Godzilla, and Elizabeth Taylor put together. We thought Divine up to scare hippies. So basically, I always made fun of the culture I lived in, not my parents. They had enough rules. Now the culture I live in has more rules than my parents used to.
Trust me, as a millennial, I often have to tiptoe my own life that I'm like, what? Even, 20 years ago, I feel that this was a much different conversation we would be having. It's strange that we've gone this way. We're almost back
A
to the
whole new
50s.
world, a whole new world. And I guess it's a surprising world, which I think is always good.
Yeah, it does keep me on my toes in good and bad ways. No, I like what you do this with your new 4K release for this. Is there's a director's commentary. You are, to me, are the king of director's commentary. I can listen to your
See, I never
commentaries.
listen to them. I'm not that much of an egomaniac. What did I do tonight? I think I'll go listen to my director's commentaries. I've never heard it on any of my movies. I did hear a little bit the one I did for Mommy Dearest, and I did one
Yes.
for Girl Can't Help It. But my own movies, no, it's too torture. Now, nowadays, sometimes I'm hired to go. We watch the movie with an audience and I talk all through it. I just did Crybaby with that recently. And that's a different thing. That's like a new kind of thing because it's right up to date. It's what happened and what's new. And, I could talk about the new version coming out, which has been quite some time for it. They've been working on it for years.
Well, I'm happy they worked on it. I mean, it's an amazing thing. And the commentary, I know the guy who did the Showgirls commentary was very famous for going around doing the commentary to the point where they put it on the official release. I just love that you have an appreciation for it. Can you speak to doing commentary, things like this, and just kind of able to give your own insight? Why do you do them?
I do them because I'm a carny. It's a way to sell my work. That's why I have 50 times a year. I do a spoken word show. I'm in vaudeville still. I'm in the carnival circuit. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, a special midnight show. Step right up. We show it all. I'm still doing that.
I'm a pro wrestling fan, so
ever since I was wanted to be William Castle when I was 12.
oh, well, I love William Castle, which actually you just kind of brought up something for me. We just actually lost Roger Corman, who was a legend in this
I know,
industry.
and I met him. I saw some nice pictures of me and Roger Corman online because I interviewed him before. I think
Like 2012, I believe.
Provincetown Film Festival, maybe. Or I've interviewed him before, and we've met several times and everything. So it was really great to see him. Really great. To see him dead. He was 98 though.
He had a full life. I know. I was upset as I was. I wasn't like,
can't say it's a tragedy. But 98, see, trashy movies keeps you going.
Absolutely. I mean, you're still kicking it and killing it these days. I just saw you on Chucky. I love seeing that your work. What drives you to still work in this day and age where I feel like you could have hung up your boots a long time ago and just enjoyed
because it's still offered. And I only believe you get one life. And I want to meet every person, be in every movie, do every job, do everything that's offered to me that's astonishing still to do. And being in the Chucky movie, I love the cast. I love that whole franchise. I still think it's funny, and it's weird. It's underage, gay, and racially integrated, and they get away with it. one of the kids makes out with Chucky in it.
I
I loved that.
flabbergasted
Did
when
you
I
see
saw
that? I
that.
was jealous. I wanted to.
I just love it. And I just love that you continue to kind of attract in new generations. My 6-year-old stepson is obsessed with The Simpsons. He saw your episode and at 6 was like this. And then of course 2 weeks later, he watches Alvin and the Chipmunks. You're there as well. So it's just so funny to see that you're almost a timeless character in pop culture. What was this always like in a goal of yours as well? I know you talked about the Carney, but did you know you were gonna integrate yourself in pop culture just beyond
I
your movie?
wanted to reach different genres. I knew that maybe kids weren't going to know me from seeing Pink Flamingos, so I got an Alvin. Horror fans are not always art film fans at all, you know, and it's a very different thing. I'm always recognized for Chucky every time I'm on the New York subway. They never
Well,
recognize me for
you
anything
say
else.
masturbating midget in
Chucky,
that movie. Come on.
constantly they recognize me, and I haven't been out much since the new version came out, but I hope it gets renewed because I have a recurring part, I think.
I hope so as well. But yes, I just want to wrap up by just saying thank you so much for speaking with me, and I cannot wait to see what you come and kind of craft up more. I love that you're still working on another film, but you're still releasing your classics in great ways. What other ones can we see coming forward for you? Like, do you have
I don't
anything
know,
else
the
cooking up?
movies. Let's see. Let's hope Criterion does one next. We'll see.
Oh, I can't wait. Criterion's always, I mean, I have my collections
Oh,
back
they
here
do
of
such
yours.
a great job. Yeah,
Every time they come out with one, your covers especially are always so
I know.
striking. I can't wait to see.
Their class act. What can you say?
Thank you so much for speaking with me. You
Thanks
are
for
my
having me.
absolute legend icon. You are the reason I got into film school at the first place, too. Disrupted. My first film school movies were very offensive for Full Sail conservative school. So I thank
Well,
you
I'm
so much
glad
for
I
getting
was
me
a good
through it.
influence. Glad I
You
was
are
a good influence.
you are the bad influence of the good influence. So
All
thank you
right.
so much.
Thank you.
And